जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 1 चैप्टर 12 श्लोका 20 एष दाता शरण्याश्च यथा हि असुनिरसिभिः यशो वितनित svānāṁ dauṣyantir iv yajvanām eṣa dātā śaraṇyaś yathā hi auśīnaraḥ śibiḥ yaśo vitanitā svānāṁ dauṣyantir iv yajvanām eṣa dātā śaraṇyaś yathā hi auśīnaraḥ śibiḥ yaśo vitanitā svānāṁ dauṣyantir iv yajvanām yathā auśīnaraḥ śibiḥ eṣa dātā śaraṇyaś yathā auśīnaraḥ śibiḥ yaśo vitanitā svānāṁ dauṣyantir yajvanām eṣaḥ dātā śaraṇyaś yathā auśīnaraḥ yaśo vitanitā svānāṁ dauṣyantir yajvanām eṣaḥ dātā śaraṇyaś yathā hi auśīnaraḥ yaśo vitanitā svānāṁ dauṣyantir yajvanām. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. eṣaḥ, this child, dātā, donor in charity, śaraṇyaḥ, protector of the surrendered, and yathā, as he, certainly, auśīnaraḥ, the country named Uśīnara, śibiḥ, yaśo, fame, vitanitā, disseminator, svānāṁ, of the kinsmen, dauṣyantih eva, like Bharata, the son of Duṣyanta, yajvanām, of those who have performed many sacrifices. This child will be munificent, donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Śibi of the Uśīnara country. And he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharata, the son of Mahārāja Duṣyanta. Purport. A king becomes famous by his acts of charity, performances of yajnas, protection of the surrendered, etc. A Kshatriya king is proud to give protection to the surrendered soul. This attitude of a king is called īśvara-bhāva, or factual power to give protection in a righteous cause. In the Bhagavad-gītā, the Lord instructs living beings to surrender unto him, and he promises all protection. The Lord is all-powerful and true to his word, and therefore he never fails to give protection to his devotees, to his different devotees. The king, being representative of the Lord, must possess this attitude of giving protection to the surrendered souls at all risk. Mahārāja Śibi, the king of Uśīnara, was an intimate friend of Mahārāja Yayāti, who was able to reach the heavenly planets along with Mahārāja Śibi. Mahārāja Śibi was aware of the heavenly planet he was to be transferred after his death. And the description of this planet is given in Mahabharata, Ādi-parva 96.6 to 9. 96.6 to 9. Mahārāja Śibi was so charitably disposed that he wanted to give over his acquired position in heavenly kingdom to Yayāti, but he did not accept it. Yayāti went to the planet along with great rishis like Ashtaka and others. On inquiry from the rishis, Yayāti gave an account of Śibi's pious acts when all of them were on the path to heaven. He has become a member of the assembly of Yamraj, who has become his wonderful deity. Worshipable deity. As confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā, the worshipper of the demigods goes to the planets of the demigods, yanti deva-vratā devan. So Mahārāja Śibi has become an associate of the great Vaishnava authority Yamraj on that particular planet. While he was on the earth, he became very famous as a protector of surrendered soul and a donor of charities. The king of heaven once took the shape of a pigeon-hunter bird, eagle, and Agni, the fire god, took the shape of a pigeon. The pigeon, while being chased by the eagle, took shelter on the lap of Mahārāja Śibi, and the hunter eagle wanted the pigeon back from the king. The king wanted to give it some other meat to eat and requested the bird not to kill the pigeon. The hunter bird refused to accept the king's offer. But it was settled later on that the eagle would accept the flesh from the body of the king of the pigeon's equivalent. The king began to cut flesh from his body to weigh in the balance equivalent to the weight of the pigeon. But the mystic pigeon always remained heavier. The king then put himself on the balance to equate with the pigeon, and the demigod were pleased with him. The king of heaven and the fire god disclosed their identity, and the king was blessed. Devarṣi Nārada also glorified Mahārāja Śibi for his great achievement, specifically in charity and protection. Mahārāja Śibi sacrificed his own son for the satisfaction of human beings in his kingdom, and thus child Parikshit to become a second Śibi in charity and protection. Duṣyantih Bharata. There are many Bharatas in the history, of which Bharata, the brother of Lord Ram, Bharata, the son of King Rishabha, and Bharata, the son of Mahārāja Duṣyanta, are very famous. And all these Bharatas are historically known to the universe. This earth planet is known as Bharat or Bharatvarsha due to the king Bharat, the son of Rishabha. But according to some, this land is known as Bharata due to the reign of the son of Duṣyanta. So far as we are concerned, this land's name Bharata was established from the reign of Bharat, the son of King Rishabha. Before him, the land was known as Varsha. But just after the coronation of Bharata, the son of Rishabha, this land became famous as Bharatvarsha. But despite all this, Bharata, the son of Mahārāja Duṣyanta, was not less important. He is the son of the famous beauty Shakuntala. Mahārāja Duṣyanta fell in love with Shakuntala in the forest, and Bharat was conceived. After that, Maharaj forgot his wife Shakuntala by the curse of Kanva Muni, and the child Bharat was brought up in the forest by his mother. Even in his childhood, he was so powerful that he challenged the lions and elephants in the forest and would fight with them as little children play with cats and dogs. Because of the boys becoming so strong, more than the so-called modern Tarzan, the rishis in the forest called him Sarvadamana, or one who's able to control everyone. A full description of Maharaj Bharata is given in the Mahabharata, Ādi-parva. The Pandavas or the Kurus are sometimes addressed as Bharata due to being born in the dynasty of the famous Maharaj Bharat, the son of King Duṣyanta. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpatakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitam Cha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvase Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, everyone, for giving me an opportunity to purify myself by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Please bless me that I speak in parampara, and bless me that whatever I speak is pleasing to the devotees. And if I speak anything beyond my realization, please forgive me. So here in this chapter, in these shlokas, the qualities of Maharaj Parikshit are being described, and how he is going to rule the kingdom. And whatever has been described in this chapter actually gets tested, and it's actually, it happens in chapter 16, where we would hear how Maharaj Parikshit ruled the world with great valor and with, with charitable disposition. So here, all the sages are actually going to the astrologer, trying to inquire what kind of a prince or what kind of a son that, will be born from Uttara, and what will be the qualities of Maharaj Parikshit. And we see that in Vedic times, many devotees, they used to actually inquire, and for a reason, because in Vedic times, it was it was a responsibility that whoever is born in kingly dynasty specifically, be a Raj Rishi. He needs to be a Raj Rishi. He needs to be a pious king. He needs to be powerful. He needs to protect all his citizens. So they were very inquisitive to know. We've seen even during Srila Prabhupada's birth, after Srila Prabhupada's birth, his parents were also very inquisitive that, what will my son do? Will he create an impact to the lives of people? Will he become a devotee of Radharani? So they wanted to know. And when the astrologer told that, at the age of 70, he will be the proponent of religion, he will actually spread the religion throughout the world, and he will travel across the 7 seas and spread the religion. They were very happy to know this. In this day and age, we are just bothered about the first half of it, whether my son will go across the 7 seas, go to US and get a good job. We are just bothered about that. When I joined, Infosys 23 years back, there was one colleague of mine with me who was from a South India and was very pious, and South Indians are very pious. And he joined along with me, and within 1 year he left Infosys, and I was inquiring, why are you leaving? And he said, in my community, it's sinful if I don't travel to US. There is so much of community pressure. If you don't travel to US, it means that either you are not capable or there is something wrong with you. So because Infosys is not sending me, I'm going to US to study. So that was the kind of, people used to still have. If you go down the south in Andhra and Karnataka, people have that image that my child should go to US. So this is the prophecy that we go to, astrologer. We want to hear this. Will my child go? But not for kings. They wanted to hear this prophecy to understand whether the king who's going to become the king whether he will rule the kingdom justly or not. So here, why? Because they were called Rajarishis. Why they were called Rajarishis? Because if you see, anytime a concept or a thought process that needs to spread to all the people, there needs to be a Brahmana who will give that concept or who will give that thought process, and there needs to be a Kshatriya who can execute it. If you see past histories, like Buddhism, for example, it was very confined to a particular region. It was not spread across all of India. But when Ashoka, the Emperor Ashoka, took over Buddhism, he adopted Buddhism. He made sure it spreads throughout the world, throughout India at least, and some parts of China and Tibet and the eastern parts of India. Even if you hear about Christianity, how it spread, it was not spread, organically. Actually, after the Roman emperor took over, adopted Christianity, it spread throughout the world. Even for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it spread because of King Prataprudra. He adopted Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and that's why it spread throughout Bengal and Orissa and some parts of India. So it is very important that a Kshatriya king adopts the principles if he adopts, then the praja will follow. It is said in Bhagavad-gītā also, right? Yad yad acharati shesha tat eve taro jana. So whatever a leader will do, the common man will follow. So hence it was very important. They were very eager. The sages and the Brahmins were very eager. What is the Parikshit Maharaj going to do in his when he grows? Whether he's going to be a saintly king or whether he's going to be like Kauravas. Yesterday, Kanai Thakur Prabhu gave a very wonderful class, and he gave the reasons why they were actually asking this question. Because in previous, there were some incidences where the kings were not just, or impious kings were also born in this dynasty. So they were very eager to know. So one of the foremost quality of the king is to protect the kingdom, to protect the citizens, to protect all that have been born. It is said, Kanai Thakur Prabhu also mentioned yesterday, that praja does not only mean the human population. It means all the creatures who have born in that particular kingdom. So it is their responsibility to protect everybody. Now, Srila Prabhupada in this purport says that this quality of protection is īśvara-bhāva. Why is it called īśvara-bhāva? Because this protection quality is actually by Krishna, by the Lord. He has this quality of protection to his devotees. Like the kings will have a limited purview of protection. Mostly they will be protecting the person's body. But Krishna's protection is overarching. He gives an overall protection. But sometimes we may feel that, whether Krishna really protects, or maybe he is protecting very pure devotees, not, devotees like us who are practicing devotees. So we have a very narrow view of Krishna's protection. Actually, the word protects itself is an acronym. The way Krishna protects. It's one of the way to understand how Krishna protects his devotees. So if we take this acronym P-R-O-T-E-C-T. So P means sometimes Krishna personally protects. We have seen so many incidences in Vrindavan where Krishna personally protects the devotees. When Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill, he personally protected the devotees in Vrindavan. So that time Krishna personally came and protected the devotees. So sometimes Krishna can come personally and protect you. Sometimes Krishna sends his representatives, R. So he will send his representative to protect us. Like for example, Vidura was his representative. He went to the Pandavas and said, this Lakshagra is a kind of a fishy thing. You might be in trouble very soon. So you should escape immediately from here. So he sends his representatives to protect. Like he sends his, our spiritual master, our guru, is the representative of Krishna. And he protects through his representatives. Then O is his omnipresence. Sometimes he protects through his omnipresence. Like Draupadi was protected by Krishna by his omnipresence. No one saw Krishna, but Krishna was protecting Draupadi by his omnipresence. Even while chanting, it is his omnipresence, his presence in the holy name that protects us. Like once Gaur Gopal Prabhu was mentioning that, someone had texted him saying that I need some help, Prabhuji, please let me know when you are free. And Gaur Gopal Prabhu was so busy, he could not reply to him. And late in the night, like around midnight almost, he saw his message and thought, maybe this person might be awake, let me call him. And he just called him. And that devotee started crying and he was so thankful to Gaur Gopal Prabhu. He said, what happened? He said, Prabhuji, you really protected me. I was about to watch pornography right now, and because you called me, I am protected. So sometimes Krishna protects by his omnipresence. Sometimes you may just about to, in some mundane things you are about to watch, and your ringtone of Krishna happens to ring, and you will be saved from it, saying that no, forget, I don't want to watch anything mundane. So by his omnipresence, Krishna protects. Sometimes Krishna protects through his teachings, T. So we see that in Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna protected Arjuna from lamentation, from sorrow, from getting into depression, and getting attached to the material concept of body and life, he protected to his teachings, through his teachings. And we see we are protected right now by following Bhagavad-gītā, by following Krishna's teachings, by following the four regulative principles. Otherwise, not following four regulative principles, we could have got any kind of diseases, right? But we are protected from that. So his protection is sometimes not visible to us, but he's protecting through his teachings also. Sometimes Krishna protects through empowering. So sometimes he doesn't come personally and intervene in your personal situation and, protects you, but he empowers you to come out of that situation. He gives you that empowerment to endure that situation. So he protects through his empowerment, so that we can endure the difficult situation that we are going through. Sometimes it is combination of all of them. He protects through the combination of all of them. And T is sometimes he protects through his time. We say that time heals everything. So he protects through his time. Sometimes, devotees are desiring something, and if Krishna gives something immediately, then he actually, it should be understood that, Krishna is reciprocating with him and giving him that desire is getting fulfilled to increase his faith. Sometimes Krishna delays fulfilling the desires. That time Krishna is protecting in the form of increasing our patience for it. Sometimes Krishna does not fulfill the desire. So what Krishna is trying to do is, he's trying to fulfill, he has some higher purpose for it. So he's trying to protect us for that higher purpose. So when Krishna is protecting through his time, he's either healing us or revealing something higher. And S, protects. Sometimes Krishna is not protecting the body, but he's protecting the soul. Right? So we see that Abhimanyu was not protected, but Abhimanyu's body was not protected, but his soul was protected. So this is the definition of protects. And this protection, īśvara-bhāva, Srila Prabhupada is actually glorifying. So sometimes we may wonder, sometimes we are told not to have this īśvara-bhāva, controlling mentality. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada is actually glorifying īśvara-bhāva. So what is it? And what it really means is that we have some control. That īśvara-bhāva is there. Like we have control over the way we want to live our life. We have control over our near and dear ones. We have control over what we want to wear, what we don't want to wear. We have control over our kids. So some amount of control is there with us. And the moment that control comes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, two defects enter along with it. The first defect that enters along with it is we are illusioned. Illusioned by, we think that I am the controller. Now this person or this responsibility, the temple responsibility is given to me, means I am the controller of this. So that is the mentality that creeps inside us. And along with it, the side effect is that, the second defect is that we start thinking that this is mine. Whatever I possess is mine. Whatever services we are doing is mine. It only belongs to me. No one should interfere in my services, right? So these two defects go along with the īśvara-bhāva that we have. So Srila Prabhupada is not glorifying that kind of īśvara-bhāva. When we are having, what Srila Prabhupada is glorifying is, when we are having a control over somebody, it should be shown in form of care and in the mood of service to Krishna. So whenever we are in control of something, we should always think that we are a small controller, but we are doing this controllership in service to Krishna. Like Parikshit Maharaj, he was in control of the entire kingdom, but he was enacting in service to Krishna. Sometimes, our kids, we want to control them. And, we want to make sure that they attend shloka classes and this and then that and then we will call them, hey, idara, there is shloka, recite shloka in front of devotees. So the idea behind that is not that, we want to, if you think deeper, at least I, thought deeper when I was, my Nandini was small. The idea was not, Krishna was never in the center. The idea was when, Nandini could recite shlokas, I would be glorified as a parent, saying that, oh, you gave nice, education to your child, Krishna consciousness to your child. So sometimes this is the mentality that we have. We want to control things without keeping Krishna in the center. We want to keep ourselves in the center. So this is the īśvara-bhāva that Srila Prabhupada is not encouraging. But Srila Prabhupada is encouraging īśvara-bhāva in the mood of servitude, to Krishna, where Krishna is in the center. So another quality over here, so this session I will divide it into two parts. One is we'll talk about the shloka, and second is we want to discuss about today's Hera Panchi and today's disappearance day of Vakreshwar Pandit also. So we'll go very quick so that we can cover both of these things together. I'm going to be short in time for sure, but we will try to cover very quickly. So another quality of Parikshit Maharaj which is described over here is he's very, very charitable. Maharaj Parikshit was very charitable, and one of the definition of charity we hear in Mahabharata, when the Yaksha was actually questioning Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas were almost dead, and only Yudhishthira Maharaj was alive, and he was questioning, and he asked, what is charity? And Yudhishthira Maharaj gave a very beautiful answer. He said, protecting all creatures is the biggest charity. So this actually exemplifies what Parikshit Maharaj did. Just not he was charitable in gross form, but he was even charitable by protecting all the creatures, not just human beings in his kingdom. He used to protect, not just human beings, but the cow and the bull that were there in his kingdom. And just not that, he even gave protection to Kali and asked him to stay in his kingdom at various places, which Kanai Thakur Prabhu already mentioned. So this charity is very, very important, and it is mentioned in Bhagavad-gītā that austerity, charity, and tapa and yajna, dāna, tapa should be performed by all people, irrespective of their order in the spiritual life. It could be in the renounced order also they should perform, because they are very liberating. So here, Srila Prabhupada once was walking and near the Dallas temple, there is a beautiful river, a lake. And next to it was a big bungalow of a very rich man. He was supposed to be one of the richest person at that time, H.L. Hunt. And Srila, devotees were telling him that, this is a very rich man. And then Srila Prabhupada asked, what would you go and tell him? And all devotees were like fired up, and he said, the context during that time was, perfect citizenship. So they said, Prabhupada will go and tell him that in our Dallas Gurukul, we educate our children and make them perfect citizens. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, you should go and tell them that he's the biggest thief. And all the devotees were thinking, Arey, aise jaake kisko bolenge ki you are the biggest thief? Then this Dayanand Prabhu realized that later Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj brought a person on the terrace, and he was a big businessman, and he had a glass ka business. And Srila Prabhupada asked him that, what business do you do? And he said, I manufacture glass. So how do you manufacture glass? Srila Prabhupada asked. He said, by the sand that is available. And who does the sand belong to? And he knew where Srila Prabhupada is going to. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, Bhagwan ka hai? Say, ye sab sand Bhagwan ka hi hai. And Srila Prabhupada said, so you are taking sand from Bhagwan? You are a big thief. And that person was very pious. So he immediately said, no, Srila Prabhupada, I give some charity also. So Srila Prabhupada said, oh, then you are a small thief. So the idea is that if we are not giving back, we are a biggest thief. Krishna has given us so many things. And if we are not giving back, we are a thief. And if we give back, doesn't mean that we are not a thief. We will just become a small thief. But at least it's better to become a small thief rather than being a big thief. And now Janmashtami is coming up, so we request all the devotees who are watching online also to give some amount from your whatever Krishna has given you for charity. Sometimes, people ask me that how much should I give? And I tell them that, whatever pinches you, you should give that much. Suppose if you are giving just, 5,000 for Sunday feast, that is not pinching you. So you should not give 5,000 for Janmashtami. You should give at least 10 times more during Janmashtami. So it will pinch you. The beauty about this pinch is that, this pinch will last only for a year. The next year when you give 50,000, it won't pinch you. So you will have to give something more which will pinch you. So you should increase it to 75,000. And then that 75,000 will not pinch you next year. Then you should give it 1 lakh. So one should try to give as much as possible. Rupa Goswami gave 50% of his charity, of his wealth to Krishna's service. And 25% to his family, and 25% he kept for himself. We are not asking for that, 50% to be given. So just a pinch. But that it should really pinch you. It should not be in your comfort zone. It should be beyond your comfort zone. It should pinch you that, oh, gaya paisa. That's okay. So it should be that kind of a thing. So then we will be able, and this is being, and as Yudhishthira Maharaj said, this is the greatest charity when we give something to protect the creatures. This donation that you are going to give is going to be used in protecting the devotees, protecting the people from falling down into this material world, into this material ocean. So this is the biggest charity what you can do. Even a small amount of donation, but don't take me literally, small from your point of view, but it should be meaningful. Please donate during the Janmashtami. Our marathon is going on. So I encourage everyone to, make that donation. So we will quickly go to, the next topic where we want to discuss about the Rath Yatra, the Hera Panchi, and the pastimes of Vakreshwar Pandit. Prabhuji, if you can. So I have some presentation here. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually came back from, South India Yatra after 2 years. And when he came back from South Indian Yatra, throngs of devotees, hundreds of devotees came to meet him in Puri. And they were having ecstatic kirtan. Before that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally welcomed each one of them and garlanded them and put chandan on their faces. And they performed an ecstatic kirtan. And just by that time, Prabhuji, just at that time, this was happening close to the king, Pratap Rudra, and he was watching them that they were dancing in effulgence. And he had never seen such an effulgent dance and Sankirtan happening. He had seen so many Kirtan players coming to his palace and performing, but such a kind of Kirtan he had never seen. So he asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what is this kind of Sankirtan that is happening? And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, this is Prem Sankirtan. So this is the Kirtan happening, performed by Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Krishna himself. And he quoted a verse from Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, which shows that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. You can quickly go to. So after this Sankirtan, the next ritual that happens is the Snan, the Snan Yatra of Jagannath Baldev. This is the day when actually Jagannath was born. Like King Pratap Rudra found the logs of wood in the river on this particular day. So this is actually the birthday of Jagannath Ji, where Jagannath Ji is brought from the temple in the midnight. And is bathed with 108 gold, holy water rivers, and a lot of rituals are performed. And the beauty about this ritual is during that particular day, there was a staunch devotee of Ganesha who came over there. And King Pratap Rudra said, you want to take darshan? Snan Yatra is happening. He said, no, don't take any darshan of anybody except for my worshipable deity who's Ganesha. And Pratap Rudra insisted, just come and see the procession, some rituals are happening. And very reluctantly, he came over there, and during this time, Lord Jagannath and Baldev manifested themselves in the form of Lord Ganesha. So very beautiful darshan happens during this time where they are decorated. It's called Gaja Vesh, or it's called Hathi Vesh, where the Lord Jagannath appears in the form of Lord Ganesha. So once this ritual is done, Lord gets fever and they don't give darshan for 15 days. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in actually separation from Lord Jagannath, and he visits Amarnath where he worships Lord Vishnu. And he is so ecstatic that during taking his darshan, the stone melts because of his ecstasy. And this we can see, even now the stone which has melted. You can go to the next slide, please. We can see the impressions are still there. And when Lord Chaitanya hears that the devotees have come from Bengal for taking, part in Rath Yatra, he becomes very, very happy, and he goes personally to greet them and welcome them. And when, the next ritual that happens is Pahandi Vijay. So before Pahandi Vijay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually divided his Sankirtan party into 7. He had 7 parties doing Sankirtan. 1 lead singer, 1 lead dancer, 2 mridanga players, 1 kartal player. In each Sankirtan party, this was the arrangement done. And 1 party was being led by Swarup Damodar Prabhu, and the lead dancer was Advaita Acharya. Another party was led by I think Srinivas Pandit, and Srinivas, and the lead dancer was Nityanand Prabhu. Another party was led by Govind Ghosh, and the lead dancer was Vakreshwar Pandit. So Vakreshwar Pandit is an incarnation of Tunga Vidya, who's one of the gopis of in the one of the 8 gopis. So Vakreshwar Pandit we can dance for 3 hours, 4 hours. We saw yesterday on Sunday, devotees were dancing for 3 hours, but after that, they were all exhausted. But Vakreshwar Pandit had the capacity to dance for 72 hours continuously. So this was the kind of devotees that were there with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is actually some pastimes of Vakreshwar Pandit. So in one of the pastimes, there was a devotee called Devanand Pandit, and he was a great reciter of Bhagavatam. And once while he was giving Bhagavatam class, Srivas Acharya attended his class, and hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he started crying and rolling down in the pandal where the Bhagavatam class was going on. And some of these followers of Devanand Pandit, they felt that he's going to disturb the class. So they removed him from the assembly. Though Devanand Pandit did not do that, but it happened under his under his nose. So he actually offended a great Bhagavat. There are 2 kinds of Bhagavat, right? Bhagavatam and the Bhagavat person. He offended the devotee. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to know that Devanand Pandit has offended Srivas Acharya, he said, whatever you do, you read so many Srimad Bhagavatam, whatever you read, nothing, you will never get Krishna Prem. He cursed him. And then once, Vakreshwar Pandit came to Kulya and for performing kirtan and dance in one of the devotees' house, and hearing this, Devanand Pandit also went over there. And Vakreshwar Pandit danced for 6 hours, and that ecstasy, the dance that he performed, attracted a lot of people to that particular place. And, Devanand Pandit took up the role of a gatekeeper. He was protecting everybody, that crowd, to enter the area where Vakreshwar Pandit was in ecstasy. And when he narrated this thing to Vakreshwar Pandit, he was very pleased of his service, that you avoided the crowd and allowed to do my service. So he benedicted to Devanand Pandit that you will get Krishna Prem. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he hears about this benediction, he says, because you have served Vakreshwar Pandit, who has Krishna within his heart, you will be given Krishna Prem. So that is the glory of Vakreshwar Pandit. You can go to the next slide. Next slide. So when this Pahandi Vijay happens, Jagannath ji is brought in a great procession. Okay, we'll take 5 minutes more. In a great procession where he's decorated with, huge crown made of bamboo sticks. And when another ritual is like taking the Jagannath on the wooden stairs. So that is also a ritual. And His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, when he had gone over there, at that point in time, when Jagannath was climbing the stairs, suddenly he became so heavy. Became so heavy that the Pandavas were pushing him up, but he could not just go up, and the Pandavas just gave up. And Jagannath ji was almost towards the, on the cart, but from that, Jagannath ji just came down, dun, 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 and he just slept. And the Pandavas were not able to do anything. And they were telling all the devotees to chant Krishna's name, Hari Bol, they were doing. And what happened is, the MC, there is an MC usually during that time. Whenever you'll visit Rath Yatra, there is one person who is giving running commentary of all the things that are happening. So he said, hey, oh Jagannath, this is no time to sleep. 8 lakh people are waiting for your darshan and you are sleeping over here. And he kind of chastised Jagannath ji, and immediately Jagannath got up and he went on the Rath Yatra. So these are very small and intimate pastimes that Lord Jagannath performs during his Rath Yatra. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his Sankirtan party were dancing like anything, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to be like heavier than, stone, and when he used to drop down, it would be like heavy. Sometimes he was as soft as cotton, and he was being passed by from devotee to devotee. So such loud kirtans were going on. We can just imagine what was happening. What happened maybe last Sunday, maybe you can multiply it by 100 times. That was the kind of kirtan that was being performed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after performing Kirtan, he takes rest in the garden, and that's where he gave his mercy to King Prataprudra. We will not dwell into that pastime, but we'll go ahead. So once the chariot comes and reaches the Gundicha Mandir, that is when all the ritual starts performing, and that ritual is called Gati Pahandi. So Goti Pahandi, where again the deities are brought down from the chariot, and then they are taken to the altar in Gundicha Mandir. So what has happened during this time is Lord Jagannath had told Lakshmi ji that I'm going out for a day and I'll come back within a day. So Lakshmi ji has been waiting. 1 day has passed, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Now she's getting very restless. And she's getting restless, and then she takes advice from Vimla Devi, on the 5th day, saying, what should I do? Jagannath has not come. And Vimla Devi gives her Mohan Churan. It's called a Churan, which is hypnotic, which will attract Krishna back to Sri Mandir, which is the main temple. So she comes with all her servitors on the 5th day. This is called the Hera Panchami. So Hera means to see, and Panchami is on the 5th day. So that is when Lakshmi ji comes on the 5th day in the evening with all her servitors and lot of pomp and dhol bhaja ke saath she comes. And she is greeted by the servitors of Lord Jagannath Nandighosh near the Nandighosh chariot. And there is a panda who will greet them and perform all the rituals that needs to be performed. And then Lakshmi ji goes in and tries to enter the Gundicha temple. And there, just near Jaya and Vijaya, when Jagannath ji sees Lakshmi ji coming, he asks them to close the door. So the doors are closed, and Lakshmi ji actually gets very, very angry, saying that you close the door. So Gundicha temple is actually Vrindavan. So Lakshmi ji is not allowed to enter in Vrindavan. And we know about the pastimes where Lakshmi ji wanted to take part in Ras Leela, but she was not able to take part because Krishna said, you have some pride and you are in that awe and reverence kind of a feeling. Here you have to be in Vraj Bhav. So Jagannath closes the door. So that is the time Lakshmi ji gets very angry and she leaves that place. And while leaving, she asks her servitors to break some parts of the chariot, Nandighosh. So the chariot is broken and she goes back to Sri Mandir. And after the 10 days have passed, then Jagannath, Baldev, 7 days they stay in the Gundicha Mandir, and on the 10th day, actually 2 days they stay outside, 1 day again outside. So total 10 days has passed by, and they decide to go back to Sri Mandir. And to attract Lakshmi ji, there is another ritual that they perform is Sonavesh. They decorate the Lord with lot of opulence. That the whole body of Lord Jagannath is decorated with gold, Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra Mai, just to attract Lakshmi ji. But Lakshmi ji is not going to. So there is a Ulta Rath Yatra that happens where the deities are pulled back to Sri Mandir. It's called Sri Mandir because the presiding deity of the main temple is Lakshmi ji. So there, Baldev and Subhadra Mai are allowed, but Jagannath ji is not allowed. Then again some pastimes happen. There is some fights happened, and these fights are enacted very beautifully by the servitors. They argue, "Arey, tumhara Jagannath ji ne aisa kiya, wo kiya," and then Lakshmi ji's servitors will say this, that, and there will be some fights, and then finally. Jagannath ji will give rasgullas to Lakshmi ji to appease her, and Lakshmi ji, after taking rasgullas, she will allow Jagannath inside the temple. So these are some of the rituals that happen during this entire Rath Yatra festival. So I thought I'll just quickly cover them. So coming back to our topic, and on charity, final another point that I wanted to make is that Srila Prabhupada says that, one may give our life to Krishna, but if they give their Lakshmi to their wives, it's of no use. So please make sure, you donate to the fullest capacity that you have during a Janmashtami marathon run. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. I don't think it has covered anything.